Welcome to Mindflow Radio.
We are creating conscious community by sharing mindful manifesting skills and transcendental music.
We are all in this together. You who are the source of all illumination, please illuminate also my heart, so that I too can do your work. Om Bhuvaha Swaha. Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhuva Swaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhuva Swaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhuva Swaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhuvaha Swaha. Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhuva Swaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhuva Swaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhuva Swaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhuvaha Swaha. Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat.
Mindflow Radio.
Mindflow Radio.
She's Jai
And he is Monte.
and here we are on this beautiful planet Earth.
The eternal present.
With consciousness as the foundation of reality. Alas.
Even
What
if
does
we
that
don't
mean?
know it.
What?
Even if we don't know it.
Yeah. Yeah, right. know it, even if we know it just a little bit,
Yeah.
don't fully realize it. But
Yeah. I think that's, from what I understand from all the different teachers I've learned from, that we don't stop learning, and there isn't a threshold where we go, oh, there's nothing left to learn. I'm fully conscious and aware.
well, I don't know. I think there is, but
Maybe, but I don't think so.
Well, according to Maharaj, stage one is we get into this like ego trip reality, where we believe our bodies are us and etc. And then stage two is where we self-identify with our soul. And then we want to respect our bodies as like the vehicle of our soul, but the soul is really us. And the soul is much, it lasts a lot longer than the body, etc. But then there's stage three, where your perception of being the soul, actually, you just merge with the infinite. And I think at that point, maybe we do know.
Yeah, I think the percentage of humans like it there is probably under 1%.
Oh, way under 1%. I've never met anybody, I don't think, who was in there. I met Ram Dass, and he clearly stated he was in stage 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which was really cool.
Yeah,
but he said his teacher was in stage 3, and his teacher was like just clairvoyant and very, very mystical human.
Yeah, one of those.
One in a billion, probably.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. One thing that I find intriguing when I've read about these masters who have harnessed their mind, that most of them don't really do household things like cook and clean, and other people do it for them.
Yeah,
because it's almost like they're childlike in a sense, like they're no longer capable of taking care of themselves. I don't know if I'm wrong about that, but
I don't think they're childlike. I just think the universe like takes care of them and gives them people to like cook and.
Yeah, I'm curious because I've pondered that recently. Like maybe I don't really want to be like that because I want to be able to be a part of life, and and I don't want to feel like I'm just floating around in bliss and not attached to my feet.
You're talking about stage 3. What about stage 2?
Right.
Where you're just realizing that you're a soulful being. I
feel like I go in and out. And that I'll have all these understandings and epiphanies, and I get where I'm going wrong, and I get what I'm supposed to do, and then maybe an hour later be back in the ego and feeling just about this or that, and so that ebb and flow, I'm in that place.
Yeah, I wrote a poem recently about how when I feel dissed, that's definitely an ego experience.
Yeah, right.
But, I mean, the ego is important too, in the sense that, in the way this teacher talks about it, like the ego is important in the sense that it can pay the bills and get things done. But if we let the ego be in charge, be the CEO of our lives, then we're in trouble. But if we can let our souls be the ultimate CEO, then the universe helps take care of us, essentially. And one of his teachings is that if you really take that leap into the soulful awareness, he said, initially the walls might crumble around you, but things will work out. And the universe will take care of you, so.
Yeah. And I think, so who he's talking about is this teacher, Nisargadatta Maharaj.
Yeah.
And I guess that was kind of the point I was making is, the appearance of the universe taking care of somebody.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess I don't imagine that will happen in this life for me, because it just feels so strange. I've heard about this one. I'm gonna just botch this, but there is a woman who had been visited by Jesus, supposedly, and her hands would bleed, and all of these people would come and visit her. And I want to say it was Russia, or it was somewhere near Russia. And she was, I think, appointed as a saint eventually. And people had to literally spoon feed her. And I remember reading about that and being like, why is that good?
Yeah, well, that's like some extreme weird case.
Yeah.
I mean, what Maharaj is talking about, and he states pretty clearly, is that if all we need to do is find significant moments of stillness in our mind, and when we're able to achieve that stillness, elements are unleashed by the universe that help take care of us and help create miracles. So instead of trying to manipulate everything, all we really need to do is find peace in our minds, and then things just work out, and the universe supports us. And that's kind of in line with the Tao Te Ching, where in the Tao Te Ching it says you get in harmony with the Great Mother, and the Great Mother takes care of you. Or it's in line with Hermetics, too, for that matter, because Hermetics says if you align your mind vibration with the God mind, God consciousness vibration, then you gain all these powers. So they all kind of say the same thing.
That's what I love about all of these traditions, is really that's been my joy in wanting to learn all these different things, is to find that similarity, how they are all similar, even though they're very different traditions.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you couldn't just Google what does that tradition say or what does that tradition say. Your culture came up with its own traditions and its own way of explaining the divine, and where these things intertwine and say the same things. That's what I consider the truth.
Well, perhaps, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I mean, for it to be truth, for me, I need to resonate with it as well.
Sure.
I mean, because going with the majority doesn't always.
But that's not the majority. I'm talking about what you're talking about.
Yeah.
How
like
Hermetics
the
is saying this, and the
the
Taoists are saying this, and the
yogis and the Christians, actually, Christ, Jesus, kind of says the same stuff. Be still and know. You have healed yourself.
Yeah.
Your faith has healed you. In other words, he's saying your mind has healed you. It's like, I just love that idea that it does kind of boil down to our own minds.
I have to say that I don't think it was the mind that healed. I think the mind got out of the way of the connection with the divine.
Faith has healed you. Yeah, right. Well, yeah, I mean, it depends on your definition of mind, for sure. But I mean, that's what Maharaj says too. He says we need to step back from the mind and just be in a place of awareness. And at that point, we're seeing the world through soulful eyes, beyond words, beyond analysis, a transcendental place. And that's, according to him, if we get to that place regularly, then the universe works with us and helps us and creates miracles in our favor. And so we don't have to go around trying to manipulate everything.
Right.
And which is like a relief, because I spent half my life trying to manipulate things all over the place. Well, 20 years ago, I realized, boy, the more I manipulate stuff, the more it tends to backfire. And, but yeah, just knowing that what I really need to do is just find stillness. And then the universe perhaps rewards me for that when I can get there.
I guess I have to just pause and reflect back at what you just said about the more you manipulate, the more things don't go as planned, or however you said it.
Yeah, it can backfire.
But I also feel like one thing that goes through my mind from my childhood and my experiences that from the Christian culture, the parent is uber responsible for teaching the kid life lessons. And that could be considered in what you're saying manipulation, but it's like your child. So I think that there's a time and a place for quote unquote manipulating.
Well, I agree with that, but ultimately we do teach our kids through example.
Yeah.
That's we can throw all these words at them, but it's really, they tend to mimic our behavior.
Yeah.
And our energy and our emotional framework. And
yeah.
But I hear you. I try still,
I do too.
But I also try and let go.
Yeah.
And I also
that's
try
super
to
important too.
It's super important. Even as far as psychological health goes, which is really important, if we're able to find moments of peace throughout the day, psychologically speaking, we have much more resilience. We have these, at that point, we have emotional regulation skills. Like supercharged emotional regulation skills, if we're able to quiet our minds when we want to, most of the time.
It's a huge skill.
It is. And if we're able to do it, then we're, psychologically speaking, we feel empowered. And then once we feel empowered, we have less depression, less anxiety, less fear, essentially.
But I want to go back to the word manipulate, because I feel like it has a really bad rap. If and my son has said this before. He's talked about manipulation, and then I've been like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're saying that word. And then he's like, do you know what it means? And I think our culture has made manipulation into this really big, bad thing. But really all it means is that you're kind of taking a hand in creating and shaping something.
Well, right.
And we basically, if that's the definition, then we manipulate our own minds. Because one of the things that I've noticed for myself is that I've been grappling with a lot of anxiety, depression, and anger.
Yeah.
And if I don't manipulate it, then my ego is just like, let's play. And I end up in these really big roller coasters of intensity. Yeah. Whereas if I manipulated it and said no and re-steered, then that's a really positive way of using manipulation. Right? Or am I using it wrong?
I think you may be using it wrong. Manipulation. When I'm driving the car, I'm manipulating the steering wheel for sure. But
isn't that the same as rewiring your brain? You're steering it?
Yeah. Well,
I don't really know. Maybe I should look it up in a definition.
Yeah, I think it generally has kind of a more of a negative connotation when it comes to just...
But is that cultural? Or is it really an actual negative connotation?
I don't know. I should look it up.
Okay, so I just looked it up. And manipulate, in the New Oxford American Dictionary, number 1, to handle or control a tool, mechanism, etc., typically in a skillful manner. Or number 2, control or influence a person or situation cleverly, unfairly, or unscrupulously. But that is very difficult, because to handle or control in a skillful manner a tool, that's what meditation is too.
Well, yeah, it's a tricky word.
Yeah. Anywho.
But we do need to work with our minds.
Yeah.
We do need to, we don't need to, but it benefits us to learn skills that empower us to re-steer our thinking when it's off track, when it's going sideways, when I'm caught up in anger or blame, you know, because that, in a way, in our culture, we're trained to blame others, and other people and other countries and the rich people and whatever. We're trained to blame them for my own, if I'm feeling unhappy, I can just blame all these people, or people close to me. That's easy, It's just a natural, progression. Oh, and it's a habit. It's a mind habit. And then if we get in the habit of just blame, then we're not taking responsibility for our own state of consciousness, essentially.
Yeah. I think blaming ends up stunting growth because we're, instead of reflecting, how can I have done this different? How do I need to grow? How do I need to evolve? It's like, I don't need to worry about it because it's your fault.
Yeah. But I mean, that being said, if you're in a relationship with somebody who's abusive, it's good to get away from that person. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying just stick it out.
Right.
But it's good to recognize what is, but not get too caught up in the blame game.
Right.
Because that's disempowering. Mm-hmm. It's disempowering, and it's not real a lot of the time. Sometimes it is, like I said.
Well, I think that in the situation of an abusive relationship, there's an assessment, And I know for me in the past, I just had no idea that it was even going on. And I had a dear friend reach out to me and talk to me, and I was like, yeah, I'm doing okay. I'm hoping to make it to when my kids are, all graduated and stuff. And she clearly said to me, you do know that you're teaching your children how to be abusive to their partner. And I was like, whoa, wait, what? And before that moment, I didn't see it. I did not see it.
You didn't feel like you were being abused.
I just didn't. I didn't recognize it. I didn't see it, and that is a real. I want to say normal, but I don't know if that's the right word. It's a typical way of a abusive relationship is that it's not even recognized for long periods of time, and it's unconscious. It's quote unquote good enough. and then there's this moment where an outside force, or not an outside force, but it's another person is like an outside force. It's like this outside presence reflects to you what they see. And then what do you do with it? And it's not a blame game.
No.
It's an assessment. It's like, oh, wait a minute. That's happening?
For sure.
What am I going to do about it? Oh, so it was this whole, and it took me a whole nother year to figure out how to leave. But it was this very painful period of waking up and seeing what was actually happening around me. And it was not about blame. It was about, this is happening and what do I do?
Well,
so I think blame itself is a different animal.
It is. Blame is sort of like judgmental. It feels judgmental while...
Maybe unnecessarily judgmental, because, judgment can be
I'm talking
is good and this is bad.
I'm talking the difference between discernment and judgment.
Okay.
And if I can discern, like, that somebody has abused me, and then... I'm making that, then it's for me to decide what to do with that.
Right.
And like I say, I'm not saying, but if I'm blaming like everybody, or not everybody, but just like lots of people and these people and these people and these people for, a lot of things, I don't think that's psychologically healthy. I don't think it's beneficial to myself. I think it's disempowering. But accurate discernment is empowering,
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Because I feel like there's been time where we've considered that America has a pretty intense history.
Yeah.
And the karma of that history.
Yeah.
And that we're just a part of that by just living here,
Yeah.
Is that discernment or is that judgment?
That's discernment. I think.
Okay.
And we are part of it because we pay taxes.
Right. Well, we're born here,
Well, yeah, but I mean, financially speaking, I pay taxes to the government and blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. But the government, there's some good things that happen too.
Yeah, there are definitely.
I'm saying it's a mixed bag.
Right.
For sure. The war machine is definitely, in my perspective, the negative side of it. Mm-hmm. And we'd be better off to focus less on that, just financially, and focus on other things. But this country can do some good things too. Mm-hmm. And hopefully in the future, we really turn the ship around and really make the world a better place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I guess that just brings to mind the song that we played first here. The Gayatri is all about tapping into the light and tapping into that which illuminates. And when the light is shining bright, there's still shadow, right? But we can see the shadow. It's like when the sun is behind the clouds, you can't see where is the shade of the tree. But when the sun comes out, then you can see where the shade is. And I think that this chant in general taps us into that illumination where we can then see more clearly. So that chant is very dear to my heart and fitting for this discussion. So I just thought I'd say that.
Yeah.
One of the things that I wanted to share that I guess we're kind of leading into here, but so we have 3 cats, right? We have a mama cat and her 2 kittens, and we got them from the Humane Society like 4 years ago. So they're not little anymore, or they're not young, I should say. And they've always gotten along really great, and they're really happy and peaceful and loving and playful. And yeah, they spar here and there, but it's very playful. And we had an experience recently where we had no one in the house, even those who had cats their whole life, had seen this happen before. And the cats saw an outside cat. One of the cats saw an outside cat and turned on her family. And then the whole family was at odds for about 24, 36 hours.
Well, there was a kitty riot.
It was a kitty riot.
That's what happened. It's like one of the cats saw another cat and just freaked out. And then all 3 cats were like right by each other and they just started fighting. And
like real fight, not brawl. Sparring.
Yeah, it was just like this.
And then they were hissing and growling at each other all day.
Yeah, for a while.
Yeah, we had to separate them. And it was like they forgot who they were. They forgot who the other cats were. And they're all family. So it wasn't like just some random cats all put together in a household or anything. It was this house. It was a family of cats. And it really solidified for me what anger does. Yeah. And it's like this instinctual energy where you forget who you are.
It puts the blinders on.
Yeah. And
it narrows your vision so you can't really see the entire picture, and you just feel the anger. And
it was so interesting. And it's like I woke up and that was the situation I saw, and I was just like, whoa, what is going on? And then the whole day was just weird, and it was just such a experience we're like everyone in the house was working together to try to integrate them all again or separate them, or it was like a first house meeting. We're all trying to figure it out. What do we do and how do we reintegrate them together? And it was just it was sweet in the sense of we all were working together, but it was also painful to realize that this is an instinctual situation that we deal with as humans. We have logic and reason where cats don't. So we have the ability to manipulate our mind into normalcy, or
we can also be tricked into being angry though.
Yes.
We can be tricked into like narrowing our minds and not seeing the entire picture if we're fearful and angry.
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah. And that's really what the bottom line is really they were afraid. And the one cat that had saw the outside cat, I was feeling like, because she was the one that stayed angry. And I felt like it was like this outside cat was imprinted on her mind, and she couldn't see past that. She couldn't see like, oh, this is my mom and this is my sister.
Well, that's interesting because you're talking about trauma there. And then that's the way trauma occurs when you go through like a highly emotional state. You know, let's say you're being abused, let's say, and then you get highly emotional, and then whatever happens gets like cemented into your memory, essentially, you know, because you're in this heightened emotional state.
And painted onto your present reality too.
Yeah, and then it's hard to like let it go. It's hard to like, you know, you try and sleep and the thoughts keep coming back because you went through this traumatic event. And
yeah.
Essentially that's...
And it was so interesting to see this play out in these innocent animals. You know, they don't know. And that's the cool thing about animals. They're not overthinking it.
No.
You know, this is instinct we're talking about. And I could see how that plays out in me. I could see my energetic growling. I could see how I'm afraid and therefore angry, and these different things that are going on in my life. And I was just like, whoa, that's what I've been doing. And yet at the same time, I'm using my tools and manipulating my mind into back to center, you know, back to center, go back to center, go back to center. But instinctually, and this was the thing that got me, it's instinctual. I'm not choosing it. It's happening. I can choose to change my trajectory, but the instinct is not a choice. So I'm instinctually falling back in the groove of the trauma. And then
plus, if you convince yourself to keep thinking about it over and over and over and over again, like the logical mind can keep us caught in anger.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, the logical mind can talk us out of it, or it can keep us there.
Yeah, if we let it ruminate. And but that's where this idea of finding stillness is so valuable. You know, and I went through a traumatic event recently, and afterwards I really knew I needed to find some stillness in my mind. So I practiced some power breathing, which is it's a kind of an intense breathing practice, like a Wim Hof kind of breathing practice for those of you who know Wim Hof. It's worth checking out, by the way. But I knew I had to do it because I knew I had to quiet my mind down. Because my mind was super agitated and just wanted to keep reliving, rethinking, you know, just...
Blaming?
Yeah. And... but then I did the power breathing, and it's like an 18-minute practice, and I did find some stillness, some silence in my mind. And it was like a beautiful thing. It was super empowering. You know, that's the thing. If we're not able to quiet the mind, then it's tough. And it's easy to feel disempowered at that point. You know, but maybe I'll talk a little bit about power breathing. Yeah,
let's have a little music break, and then we'll go over some skills for managing trauma coming up and anger. How's that sound?
Okay.
Enjoy. Feel into your body and notice your breath. Bring your awareness to the heart center, the center of your chest. Feel the sound remembering a time of confusion, feeling into that moment. And remember how far you have come since that time in your life. Feel that you have accomplished successfully since that time. Laughed, cried, felt joy and happiness. And sometimes there may be some fear that that time will come again. But remembering that you are here now and it's okay. Hold your heart. Let your heart know that you are there. You are wiser, stronger, more mature, and resilient. And feel your breath. Feel your heart. Breathe deeply. Feel as if you are acknowledging, patting yourself on the back, breathing deeply, feeling the gratitude of being here in this present moment, not in the past. Moving forward on your path. Many blessings.
All right.
I hope that was nice and peaceful.
Yeah, it's a original solo piano piece that I wrote for Jay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I just love it because the meaning of the song is about kind of innocently going through life and the challenges sometimes are really, really hard. And
Yeah.
but if we stand back up and dust our knees off and keep going, then we're likely to triumph over it. And
Yes.
like post-traumatic success is
basically post-traumatic success.
Yeah, so we can talk about some skills for and what is post-traumatic success.
Yeah. Well, since I was talking about the power breathing, I'll talk a little bit about that because this is a good skill to for me, it's my number one technique to find stillness in my mind. When my mind is like agitated, right? Something happened, my mind's really agitated. I'll go to the power breathing because I know I can find stillness. And what it is, and if you're interested in this, I would just check out Wim Hof on YouTube. Has some, or you can find us on YouTube, Heart Mind Center. But what the power breathing is I breathe in deeply and I exhale lightly. Breathe in deeply, exhale lightly. Let's just do a little bit together if you want. If you're out there in the listening world, you want to do just a real easy power breathing. Let's just go. We'll do 10 breaths. Okay, here we go. Breathing in, exhale. Breathe in, exhale. Okay, you're almost there. Good job. One more breath. Breathe in all the way. Exhale 20%. Now hold your breath. Make sure you're sitting or laying down as you're doing this. And find stillness in your mind. Slowly exhale. Breathe in, hold, and exhale. Okay, so that was just like one easy round of the power breathing. But I find it to be a hyper effective technique at controlling unproductive thinking patterns. Mm-hmm. When I feel those unproductive thinking patterns taking over my consciousness, I go, if I'm in a place where I can do it, I'll do some power breathing and kind of take the reins mm-hmm. of my consciousness and find some quiet. Because, no matter what the situation, if we can find quiet in our minds, we're more apt to make better decisions.
Absolutely.
We have more clarity. Because when that anger monster is controlling us, for example, mm-hmm. we tend to just move and groove from an agitated perspective, mm-hmm. irrational, closed-minded,
Yeah, several teachers, and I can say Yogi Bhajan and Dr. Joe Dispenza talk about the path into cementing a negative emotion into a part of your life. And basically, it starts with a mood or an attitude where something happens, it rubs you the wrong way, and it basically messes up your day. And then if that mood stays with you, then it becomes more of an energetic vibration. Mm-hmm. And I know I'm botching this. I don't remember the exact levels, but there's 4 levels. And then it, somebody can say to you, what's going on? And you can say, oh, a month ago, this thing happened and I've just been upset ever since. Yeah. And then it becomes a part of your personality and a part of your habit. And somebody could say to you, I haven't seen you for a year. What's up? What's going on? Oh, 7 months ago, this thing happened and I've just never been the same. So it's like, in a sense, it's a blame, right? So you're holding this blame, like this thing happened and therefore my life can never be normal again and I'm forever changed. The thing that happens, though, is that energy, which was once just kind of floaty, unmaterial, becomes matter. And there's been a lot of research that shows that these emotions are very meaningful. And we may think, oh, that person dissed me 10 years ago. And then we find out we have some bad cancer. And it's like, oh, they're not related. But what I have found in my own experience is that they're very related. And Monty's putting his hands up like he doesn't agree. Whoa. But what I've noticed is people heal cancer all over with different modalities. I'm training in Qigong through Spring Forest Qigong. And all these people different, testimonials of people healing their cancers through Spring Force Qigong.
Yeah.
Is it the Spring Force Qigong? No. It's that the Spring Force Qigong changed their vibration and they were able to get back into a healthy flow. Dr. Joe Dispenza, many, 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 many testimonials of walking away, healing MS and healing, I can't even tell you all the things, like he's got blindness and cancers and so many people have healed. Is it him? No. It's that they were in a situation where they were able to come back to homeostasis and drop that blame game, drop that situation ruined my life. You know, there's so many ways. There's not just one way to heal yourself. Well, I mean, the root of it may be the same.
Yeah.
The root of it being coming back to homeostasis, dropping the blame game, dropping the instinct of anger, and taking the ability to connect with some divine source and move that energy through your whole body and, you know, in chi, get rid of the chi blockages and get your energy back into flow.
Yeah. You know, and then maybe instead of saying like getting rid of anger or getting rid of blame, just being moderate with those
harmony
emotions.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they're not running us. They're human emotions that we all experience.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
and they have their purpose.
Yeah, right. But when we cling to the idea that is making, like if I cling to an idea that's making me angry, and then if I keep living in that place of anger, then it's not moderate anymore. And then I'm a less effective human.
Right. You're stuck in something.
And if I'm angry about, let's say, our habitat getting polluted, if I'm really going to change that, it's going to be through me having a clear mind and, you know, supporting these positive things that are going to like clean the environment. Perhaps, you know, I mean, it's just, but just being moderate with our emotions and I mean, and you're talking about healing, and I mentioned this earlier in the podcast. It's like Jesus says, your faith has healed you. So their perspective, their belief,
and faith is hard. Faith is, I don't have the proof yet, but I'm going to believe in it anyway. You know, that's what faith is. And what this last bit of the conversation reminds me of is back to the cats, you know. It was like they were using so much energy. They couldn't eat, they couldn't drink, and they weren't using the restroom. They were just focused on where is she, you know, like they're all girls. So it was like, where is she? Looking over their shoulder, just ready to get attacked. And that's how we are. You know, like we can pretend that we're fine and eat and drink and go to the bathroom. But in reality, we're not really present because we're looking over our shoulder. And how much energy are we using? This defensing, being defensive is absolutely important. You need to be able to defend yourself from some stray dog that's running at you, or, you know, somebody who isn't mentally well and they're coming at you. You need to be able to get angry and assertive at times in your life. You need to be afraid when you're standing at a cliff. You know, it's important to be afraid of falling off the cliff, because if you don't, you could fall off the cliff.
Yeah, but you don't want to be too afraid either, because then your body might freeze and you might trip.
Right.
You know?
There's that. So there's that moderation piece you're talking about, but it's not that I'm saying anger is bad or anger is good. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it has its place and we can get stuck in it.
Yes.
And what do we do when we're stuck?
Yeah.
You know, and what do we do? And this is something that I've found for myself, where my adrenals have, I'm really dealing with energy management, because I've been so stressed for so long, and like the cats, I'm still seeing that outside cat. You know, it's like my traumas are still painting my reality, and therefore my energy is just falling out of me. And how do you recharge your energy if you've got the drain open, And that's what I'm realizing for myself in my own healing journey, is that energy management is super important. And me wanting to blame somebody for my drain being open is not helping me close the drain.
No, but stillness would.
Yeah.
That's why stillness is a beautiful thing. I mean, even if our minds are just thinking about all these other things at once, it doesn't have to be angry necessarily.
Right.
It could be thinking about money and fashion and sports and politics and blah, blah, blah. But if we have all these thoughts running in our mind, in general, the mind is agitated and our energy is not healthy.
Right.
I would say.
Yeah,
But
totally.
if we find that stillness in the mind, and I talk about being moderate with anger, let's be moderate with our screen time too.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be choosy with what we're mentally ingesting into our minds. Let's be choosy. And
and I've also had the experience, and this is why I say that anyone with PTSD, don't try silent meditation, because I've tried it for myself many times, and I've been trying lately, and I just can't do it, because I'll be like trying to watch. You're supposed to watch your thoughts and not cling to them and let them float by like clouds. And it's like, that does not work for me, because I just cling to that cloud, and then it turns into rumination. And then 30 minutes went by and all I did was ruminate about this one thing. And that's just not productive. So I feel like mantra meditation, breath focus, chi focus,
yoga, movement.
Yoga, qigong, but or guided meditation from a skilled guide.
Yeah.
I feel like these things are way more productive in helping us find stillness, because silence isn't golden unless you know how to be silent. Silence is a skill. And if there's a lot of trauma and PTSD and like you said, agitation, you can't just give yourself that expectation of, my mind's going to be quiet now.
No,
I
right.
can't meditate. Forget it. Meditation
it's
is a major skill.
Yeah, but I mean, we can find stillness just whenever too. I mean, it doesn't have to. It could be just outside listening to the birds. Really
Yes.
becoming one with that scene, feeling the breeze, listening to the birds.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. My mind is still.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not analyzing it.
Right.
I'm just experiencing it.
What kind of bird is that?
Yeah, right.
Oh, the wind's kind of cold. I better check what the temperature is.
Yeah,
It might rain later.
Yeah, right.
Welcome to my mind.
But the birds, I've really been hooking into the birds recently as a method of just connecting more fully with the moment. Mm-hmm. And finding that place of singularity, which is like this full-on presence, full-on stillness. And man, if we can get there, if I can get there for 1 minute, it just elevates my mind, like more than any substance ever could.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And on that note, I feel like my last skill I want to share is just body awareness. People who ruminate a lot, it's up in the mind. It's heady. And sometimes I'll say to myself or a client, like, I see smoke coming out your ears. The engine's just going too fast.
Yeah.
And one very simple way to do body awareness is just feel your hands. Just feel your feet.
Mm-hmm.
If you're sitting, feel your sit bones.
Yeah.
If you're standing, feel your knees. Take a big breath in and widen your ribs. And as you exhale, relax your shoulders. Body focus. Body focus can help so much.
Oh, yeah. Bringing the heart forward. Mm-hmm. Expanding the ribs as you're breathing in, like you said. Mm-hmm. I mean, and they've done studies on like good posture, and good posture equals more confidence. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing about when we breathe in properly, when we're really expanding our lungs, we naturally it straightens us out, because it kind of expands and our spine straightens up and our head comes up. Mm-hmm. And Yeah, I mean, try leading with your heart too. That's another fun one. Try and walk into a room leading with your heart. See if you can change the energy of the room.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Yeah. Well, that was a lot of skills. We didn't list them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but we did just spew a bunch of skills. So I hope that you enjoyed that. And final thoughts. We have satsang, second Sunday of July at the Commons.
Yeah.
And
Tai Chi and Qigong
at the Commons.
Saturdays
at noon. And when we're not available, we generally try to find a sub. So you should be able to just count on there being some Qigong Tai Chi there. And I hope you all have a beautiful month of July. This is a great opportunity to soak in the summer and soak in vitality and soak in some vitamin D, and be moderate with the sun.
Yeah.
Moderation
really is key. Moderate with our thinking. That's it.
Absolutely.
I mean, we want to think about the future, but only moderately. We want to learn from the past, but only moderately. We don't want to spend too much time back there.
Right.
Too much time in the future. We want to be present moderately.
Yeah.
We want to. So think about that middle path.
Yeah, absolutely. The middle path is the most rewarding.
Yeah, it is. And just as a side note, excessiveness is part of the middle path in moderation. If you've been excessive, following that period with abstinence for whatever that is, and then come back to the middle path, perhaps.
Yeah. And if you want to listen to this again, you can find Mindflow Radio on Spotify under podcasts. So many blessings to you. I hope you have a beautiful month.
Yes.
Be well.
We're all in this together. Energy is reality. What kind of energy are we going to put out into the universe, out into the world this month? As Rumi puts it, in that field beyond good and evil, I'll meet you there.
All right, we'll see you there.